Part 8, Heaven or Hell. Heaven, or just a carrot on a stick. To pass into heaven, one must have the heart weighed against a feather, and if it is heavier than the feather, weighed down by debt, emotional charge, polarity, and the other things we allow in this life, then passage is denied, and the being is devoured. The god of the underworld is Osiris, which can be said to be O's iris, that opening and closing of the eye that allows light in or blocks the light, the all-seeing eye. We can also say that in the modern terminology that it is O's IRS, the current incarnation of the keeper of life and death and the monitor of the feather and the scales, as seen so easily, if one has eyes to see, in the IRS logo displayed on the right. At first glance, the image appears to be an eagle in the center, with a wing extended to the right, surrounded by design motifs with no meaning. This, of course, evokes the immediate sense of lawful basis and patriotism through the motif of the eagle, as has been infiltrated into the mass consciousness. But if we look closer, we can see clearly that the figure on the right, shown with color separations in the image on the left, is the Grim Reaper with hood overhead, 3 lines for the body, and an arm extended with elbow pointing down and a hand holding the top of a set of scales. The eye of the eagle now becomes the fingers of the hand curled around to hold the top of the scales. To the left of the scales is the feather that will be weighed against the heart of those who try to pass from the realm of death to the land of the living. But only those who have cleared themselves of debt and death will be able to do so. The extended arm and claw-like appendage in the logo is also quite similar to the figure of the Grim Reaper holding his harvesting scythe. Compare this image to the classical Egyptian temple image that depicts this process on the next page. On the left, the dog-headed god, Anubis, leads the dead to the scales where he, Anubis, commences with the weighing of the heart and the composite animal, crocodile head, lion body, hippopotamus rear, waits to devour the unworthy, if that is the case. To the right of the scales is the ibis-headed god, Thoth, inscribing the ledger of accounting, and to his right is one that has passed the test being led to the next level of ascension. Today, we have the scales of justice holding court over our relative worthiness in their commercial monetary bondage system, and O's iris holding sway over whether the iris of the all-seeing eye will open or close in determining our fate upon physical death. More particularly, Osiris and his many minions are making sure that all who are not worthy of life, even while seemingly alive in this world, must be kept from exiting the realm of death should their heart be heavy with debt and encumbrances. Of course, today that includes virtually everybody who has been civilized and thereby lifted off the land of the living into the containment field to be monetized, bonded, and controlled. All things considered, it is imperative to understand that the matrix reality we exist in is fundamentally organized, controlled, managed, and structured on an esoteric basis as a cult of death. The matrix is about us voluntarily consenting to the cult of death by having us contracting and recontracting to the realm of the dead every single day. With every signature we place on the public's commercial paper, we continually allow the presumption of consent to underwrite our every word, act, and deed and place us deeper into bondage. We are separated from our life, and we have consented to this state of bondage and separation. We burden ourselves with the mind shackles of fear in the ill-conceived notion that we do not have the capacity to integrate ourselves and become whole here in this life and in this world. In so doing, we externalize our capacities and power by projecting such into the holographic existence we accept as reality, thereby eschewing our true status, standing, and capacity, forever suspended between the twin pillars known as church and state, embodied as priest and king. Thus, we are blithely willing to give all our creator capacity and authority to those two stanchions of power, those two pillars of the social, political, monetary, economic, religious, pharma, medical, military, media, industrial complex manifested as the construct of the world system. In between, held in suspense from birth to death, is who we are here as the physical embodiment, and who we are somewhere out there as the being or spiritual body. This is done by providing the system with our creator capacity and allowing it to bind us to a system of maritime insurance in which the life force cargo of our spirit is carried within the physical body as a vessel in commerce, done by the placement of our signature in between the two pillars of church and state, priest and king, as seen in every Social Security card issued. Notice that written in between the number and the all-capital letters name, the words, "This number has been established for." On the reverse of the card, it states clearly that the card and the number is property of the United States via the Social Security Administration. It never says the number or the name belongs to the living being, because it does not. The name is a franchise of the United States, as is the number established and attached thereto. The symbolic and functional use of the two pillars is ultimately about splitting the mind to polarize it in upon itself and to project the enemy construct outside of itself. There is no external enemy. We have simply projected our own internal schism onto the externalized holographic projection screen of manifest reality. Quantum physics knows this when it states, quote, "The observed cannot be separated from the observer," end quote. We create our reality, and thus it is an easy matter to entrain the mass population to project a reality bubble based on lack and limitation, fear and survival. In so doing, everything outside of oneself appears to be a potential or actual enemy, but in fact, there are no enemies, only opportunities. The opportunity is always to look within and see where we have created or projected an enemy outside of ourselves, and how, by healing that internal split, we can dissolve the enemy construct and return to peace within ourselves and in the world. In this context, the road where all the banks were located in Rome was called Janus Road. Janus is the two-headed god. Have a look at the two-headed eagle symbol in Washington, in Russia, in Nazi Germany, and in Rome. This is the god Janus, which is translated Janus to be of Anu. The first month of the year in the now universal language of control on this planet is January, i.e. January, the beginning, the solar logos of false light that sits atop the world as the crown. He is even there collecting the substance of life on the way out, through the anus. In the temple of Janus, when Rome was at war, the doors remained open. When at peace, they were closed. Does that indicate that when the banks are open to the public that Rome is at war with us, and only when the bank doors close is there peace? In bondage, we give full control of our lives to the priest who binds us to the law of his temple within the pillar-flanked containment field to which we apply our signature. The priest comes in many clerical guises, starting with the clerk of court. It is the clerk whose job it is to cash the booty of the day as it is plundered from the commercial vessels that have been arrested under mandate of letters of marque and reprisal, then sent upriver to the United States Treasury through the daily settlement process known as a Treasury tax and liability screen, in the same way that banks close out their daily ledgers. Then there are the priests of the law, the priests of the medical establishment, the priests of the media, the priests of everything in this world, whilst the king lifts us off the land and places us into the containment field of the civitas, as landless peasants and serfs at the bottom of the feudal hierarchy. We are suspended in the middle of the bridge, as we have energetically suspended our signet within the two pillars on the SSN card. We must always pay the interposer in every guise it takes, all as the on that keeps us stuck in the middle between the ba and the unrealized ka, the bank that controls our capacity to be, to create, to motivate our life force, and we must always pay our tithes, our taxes, and our interests. What stands in between is the world system, the fictions in law, and the constructs of the mind. Thus, government is instituted to control the mind, which is the literal translation of the Latin and Greek origins of the word government. Gubernare equals to control, and menta equals mind. All of the intricacies and etymology in language, religion, literature, symbol, and the world system are right before us, hidden in plain sight. The key is the power of contract. Contract is the most powerful force in this existence because, as a creator being, the paramount capacity we have is our ability to enter into a contract with another being. Thus, the law of contract was and is paramount. Everything that is in the world system is contractual and clearly defined. The essence of a contract is its choice of where it binds itself in terms of jurisdiction by mutual agreement of the parties. Underlying the word jurisdiction is its definition where juris equals law and diction equals word, hence the word of the law. But word is also sound and juris is also bond. We therefore have a choice. We can contract to this world system where we allow the external jurisdiction to take our words and create legalese in order to define us as it wants us to be. By so doing, we bind ourselves eternally to be held captive under the chamber known as hell below the office of the exchequer, where the king holds his debtors, and we can tarry there for eons of time in the false reality matrix. In so doing, we are forever seeking to attain heaven, which is promised to us like a carrot on a stick, ever waiting past the next wind in the river of death, where Osiris sits in eternal vigilance to bar our entry therein. Or conversely, we can choose to stand as our word as our bond, whereby we bond ourselves to our own eternal sound, where we are never separated from our creator capacity and our true source, where we stand as creation in co-creative union and harmony with life and eternity, a choice between life or death.